Hey everybody, I'm the Ranting Monkey, and with me, as always, my partner in crime, some dumb American. Say hello.
Hello.
And joining us today, the wonderful roaming millennial. Say hi.
Hey guys, thanks for having me.
Thank you for coming. And the first thing I want to ask you, um, some dumb American you have met in real life, and she has told us how absolutely nice you are. You are in the rare position to tell us how some dumb American is in real life.
Well, can I just say she is a pleasure to be around. I think she had me in stitches for pretty much the entire weekend.
You are destroying so many people's opinion of her right now.
I know, right? It's disillusioning. She's actually this super sweet person. It's like, what is this?
I tell people that because we do talk in DMs, and she is really sweet, and we love her, but we have to give her a lot of give her a hard time. Um, guys, I had
I
no.
mean, like, if
Go
I
ahead.
can say this, it was funny because when I made the comment on the round table that,
About the juice.
yeah, that everybody thinks that Nazis are bad because Hitler made the Jews take showers. Like that night, we went out for dinner, and I think Roaming and I were talking, and Hunter was like, you, you said something today that I was appalled at. It was just really funny because it just came out and I didn't even think about it, and you laughed, and I think
I know, yeah. I laughed immediately, and then I was like, no one else was laughing. Everyone's
I
super
know.
quiet, like, okay, yeah.
And Alan Bakari was like, I can't laugh because the whole Milo thing just happened.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he was like, I wanted to, but I was like, better not. And Hunter looked, because I saw his reaction. His reaction was great. I wish they just like turned the camera to him because he was just like, oh my God, what? um,
You
but
guys are doing that again in a few months, right?
yeah, in
Hopefully.
October. Um, she and I were pretty much like harassing Isaac because he was like, we're doing it again in October. And we were like, great, we're coming,
Yeah, I mean, we have
whether
his
you like
like
it or not.
personal information, his cell phone, so it's happening.
Whether he
Yeah,
likes it or not.
Exactly.
yeah. We were like, we will stalk you there. So
Actually, SDA, I was just watching like your video about the whole teal deer thing, and I do not understand the salt with
I don't
something like
either.
on. I mean, it's exciting. You get to hang out with people who you've probably interacted with a bunch online. You have similar interests. You know, you're part of my community.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it
Yeah.
was, I mean, it was people like that I had never spoken to. Like, I'd never spoken to you or Hunter or Vernaculus or Anthony Ryan Logan before we did that. And we had a ton of fun.
Yeah.
And it's rare that, like, as YouTubers, because we're so spread out, that we get to, like, hang out with people that do what we do.
Yeah, that's so true. And it's
Um,
such a different like environment than most regular jobs or hobbies because you're kind of connected to people, but at the same time you're also probably alone in a room in front of a computer, right? So and then
yeah.
any chance where you actually get to interact in person with people, I think is cool.
Yeah, and it was a lot of fun, and because everybody is really nice, and like I said, we all have sort of very similar, I guess, home lives because like we internet for a living,
Yeah.
and that's just what we do. And Isaac was like, "You guys are going to get up at 8," and we were like, "We
Oh yeah.
haven't seen 8 o'clock in the morning in God knows how long."
I
So
know we were
you're
all making such a
welcome.
big deal about it. Then like we kind of realized like, oh wait, this is how most people do things.
Yeah, I'm like, you took a bunch of people who internet, like this is our life, and you were like 8 o'clock in the morning, and we're like, okay, I
Yeah, I know.
guess.
Even Monkey, when we had that stream with Blair and Vegan Games, like poor Blair, I think she ended up having to wake up at what is it, like 9 or something in the morning. Which I mean, again, like her time, I think she's Pacific, right? Which again, for like
Mhm.
most people, is not that big of a deal, but for us internet folk, it's huge.
Yeah, it was huge. And so we were all groggy. We got lost. It was funny as hell. And it's just like being able to meet these people, like I said, that you have so much in common with. And it makes it easier because you all click pretty quickly.
Yeah,
I think we all were pretty much like comfortable and friends, like, within the first night. I felt a
yeah,
little bit awkward because I missed dinner and I was like, I'm not going to know anybody. it's going to be weird, and then it just wasn't. So it's a lot of fun. And if you can ever do it and you're a YouTuber, you should.
Yeah, and
Well,
I don't know about, sorry.
No, go ahead.
I don't know about you guys, but is your social circle outside of YouTube, are they kind of like, do they know about these kind of YouTube videos? Because for me, my friends in real life, they're not really a part of all of this. So, being able to talk, I don't know, just about YouTube stuff or channel stuff, different people's videos, it's not something that I get to do on a daily basis outside of YouTube. So it's nice to have that opportunity.
Yeah,
My
I mean,
social circle is my wife and a 2-year-old, so not really.
yeah, I mean, for me, I've got some friends and I've got some acquaintances, but for them, it's just like that thing you do. It's not, for a lot of people, it's not even really like, they don't see it as like a viable thing. I mean, I've been asked by friends if I'm going to get a job. And I mean, thanks to like the nightly streams that we do, I'm actually doing pretty well. And I wouldn't be able to do that without our fabulous fans. And so I don't need a job. And so I'm like, no, YouTube.
Like, you have
like,
one.
yeah, I know.
This
I'm
is
like,
a
I have a
job.
job. I'm like, I don't think you understand. I work 7 days a week.
Yeah.
Just to throw that out there. So it's so nice to talk to people who get it. Because like it's a passion, but there's also days where you don't want to make a video. And I said that in my teal deer video.
But you have to, because I mean, it's work.
And there are days where you're grumpy. I mean, Lord knows if you watch the live streams, you know that there are days where I'm grumpy, but it's like, it's
Days.
just, you do it.
Weeks.
It's days. It's days.
Weeks.
Leave me alone. And it's a lot of fun to just be able to talk to people who understand the struggle and also like who appreciate what you do.
Yeah, and I mean, I watched both of your videos, and I think they're really great. And I think that's something that some people, when you tell them like, oh, I do YouTube, that they maybe don't get is how much time and effort goes into editing them and just, writing them. I don't know if you guys use scripts, but it's a 5-minute video, but it doesn't mean it took you 5 minutes to make it, sort of thing.
Yeah.
Well, SDA, I know for a fact it takes her 5 minutes to make her videos, and it pisses me off.
Yeah, well, I don't script everything, and so it doesn't take me quite as long to do videos. But that being said, now that I'm actually doing a lot more face cam stuff, it's
I noticed that. I like those.
Yeah, a lot of people like them, and I found makeup that doesn't irritate my skin or my eyes as much, so that hasn't really been an issue. But yeah, it's just real life people as though we're not real people.
Normies is the term you're looking for.
Yeah, normies. Like they're not into it. Like and it's interesting for them too, because they kind of assume that because you're talking to people on the internet that you're not really friends with them, or that those people aren't like real people to you. But
yeah,
it's like, this is how I spend most of my time. So,
But by that same regard, we've mentioned this on the streams before. You, me, and Scribe, we don't even know each other's names. So if we were to meet up somewhere, that first 10 minutes could be very awkward. One of the things that when I was talking with Jeff Holiday the other day, he was talking about everybody meeting up at VidCon, and there were several of the YouTube creators who were like, I'm really socially awkward. And I was wondering if that happened to anybody in the group that you guys were with at the Bridge the Divide thing.
I think the most quiet of us was probably Vernaculus.
Yeah, definitely. It was also interesting because I've been so cagey about what my name is, and I know, Romain, you have too.
Yeah.
But because it was like IRL stuff, now a bunch of people have my name and my phone number.
Well, it's actually funny because, I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I am totally fine not knowing someone's real name. Like, I think I could be pretty good friends with someone, at least online, and, not really worry about their name. I have no problem referring to people by whatever their screen name is. Like, I'm fine with it. But I find like some people, they really want to know your name, especially, I've I've done interviews with things, and like the scheduler's like, so what's your real name, by the way? And like, because it's like, I don't know, more professional, I'm like, okay, like I'll tell you. So, people do know my name, but it's, yeah, I don't know. It's like, I don't know if it's a normie versus internet thing where they have to know your name or else they feel weird talking to you or referring to you by your screen name.
Yeah, it doesn't weird me out. And honestly, I'm kind of more used now to being called SDA than I am to being called my real name.
Yeah.
I think I react quicker to SDA than I do to what my name actually is. And it's not because I don't have like a social, it's just because most of my life is on the internet now because it's what you do.
Well,
And
I am sometimes called Monkey in real life and have been since I was very little. So I answer to Monkey very well. I do want to say, Roaming, your name annoys me a little bit because if I'm ever talking about you, I can't just put RM because people get confused.
yeah,
Yeah.
I get
They think I'm
confused too.
talking
I'm
about
like,
myself.
which RM are people talking about?
Well, what some people do is like they'll call me Romy, like Romi, and I kind of like that because that's kind of
Oh,
like a J Lo sort of like cool nickname.
I'm going to start doing that. Romy,
Yeah,
yes.
Romy. I know,
Um,
like I found out about that. I was like, damn, that would have been a great Twitter handle, but it's like it's too late to change it now. Ah, no one take it. If you're watching this and you don't take it, I might want it later.
she claimed it, y'all. Um,
But yeah, like you would think that there would be more socially awkward people, but I found that everybody was pretty charismatic and
Yeah, well, I
it
think Hunter's an extrovert.
he's definitely he got like so hyper on Saturday night. It was funny.
Yeah.
And we started talking about 9/11 theories, and that was interesting. Um,
oh, somebody said
it's
Romy
fun
already
though.
exists on Twitter.
Oh, sad.
Aw.
Yeah,
We know that's not the real Romy.
Yeah.
Speaking of
yeah.
the real Romy, you were just in Cuba?
Yes, I was somewhere where Americans cannot go, or at least I don't know how the rollback is working, where it's in progress. But yeah, if you're an American, sad days you won't be able to visit.
What did you think of it?
Okay, so this was actually my first time going anywhere Spanish speaking. I've been lucky that I've gotten to travel a lot all over Asia and quite some in Europe, but yeah, I've never even been to Mexico or Dominican places where I think a lot of Americans and Canadians traditionally go. So this was actually a really interesting experience for me. And going to Cuba, I really didn't know a lot about the culture. Like I knew about the history and it's communist, some about the economics, but I was not really prepared for the amount of poverty that we saw. Like we're talking no electricity poverty. I mean,
No
and we were
refrigerator poverty?
yeah that and you know what? It's weird. Like they had no fridges, but they were still somehow alive. I don't know how they were
Oh yeah,
managing
that's
that.
right. We all three made a video about
Yes,
refrigerators.
we did.
Yeah.
Sorry.
And actually, like that, I kind of want to make a video about Western privilege now, just because, like, after that video, I'm sure you guys must have got the same thing about people saying, like, no, like, you need a fridge, like, everyone
Oh,
needs internet and stuff
Well,
like
I
that.
pointed out just in that video, because Riley was like, if you're eating ramen every night, and I was like, if you're eating ramen every night, you don't need a fridge.
Yeah, exactly.
There are plenty of foods that don't need refrigerating. Like, they're like dried foods, like canned
But
foods.
even frankly, like foods that we usually put in the fridge, it's not like they will spoil immediately overnight. Like a lot of vegetables and fruits that we put in the fridge, it would be fine, like for a day or two. You'd have to go to the grocery store more often, but it's
But
not
they're
like
not.
people didn't survive without fridges before.
Yeah, and even like in the grocery store, they're not stored in the fridge.
Right.
They're just out. Like,
Yeah.
and
So
sorry.
no, I was just gonna say, yeah, so I don't know where all these like people, what they think people did before fridges.
Well, yeah, my whole thing with this, growing up, when I was a teenager, they always had the videos of Africans starving, kids in little handmade diapers, just looking pathetic with flies all over them. And anytime I see an American bitch about being poor, I just think you have no idea how great you have it.
Definitely.
Yeah, and I don't understand. I mean, I know that I'm a spoiled ass rich kid, but I don't understand how people are not aware of how good we have it. I think it's a sign, and I said this in my video, I believe. I think it's a sign of just how far we've come as Americans and probably Canadians
Yeah,
and other
definitely.
Western countries, that our poorest people have fridges and phones and cars.
Yeah.
I'm like,
And
that
we're
is
so accustomed to
ridiculous. That's
we now
amazing.
think it's like a necessity. We can't even imagine life without it.
Yeah. And I mean, as I was always taught as a kid, and I know that a lot of kids I grew up with were taught this. It was like, you know, you have what you have because somebody before you worked hard and was able to give it to you, and it's up to you to continue that.
Yeah.
And when you're young, you're not gonna be super well off probably. So you're gonna have to learn to budget and how to save your money and essentially how to stretch every single dollar. And it's kind of weird to me that there are people out there that don't have those skills. I mean, the fact that Riley thinks that without a microwave you die,
Yes.
I'm like, that's ridiculous.
Cryptic, thank you for the donation. He brings up a good point. Asian people go to the market every day for food. That's why they don't have refrigerators. It's still a cultural thing his family does.
That's true. Actually, my dad will want to go grocery shopping. Not every day, but he goes every probably 2-3 days to the market to get different things. And a lot of the stuff, yeah, you just don't put in the fridge, like all of the fruit and stuff like that. Or, you know, if you buy meat, you eat it that night.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
How much did you get to see of Cuba?
So we were we were at a hotel, and we were about a 4-hour drive from Havana. So I didn't see Havana, but there were little, like, I don't want to say towns because that's not really what they were. But there were 2 days where we actually left the hotel and kind of traveled around Cuba. You know, just seeing local stuff and, you know, getting some local food, which was actually way better than it was at the hotel. And yeah, it was, you know, I grew up going to Thailand quite a bit because it's very close to Hong Kong. So, you know, there were a few family trips where instead of going to Mexico, like some American families might have, we went to Thailand. And, you know, it is a very impoverished country, especially outside of the city, but it was still nowhere near what Cuba's like. And, you know, I was talking to some of these people, the people at the hotel that work there, they are like the equivalent of the middle class, and they still only get paid, I think it was like 25 American dollars a month or something like that. Like, I know. So it's actually mind boggling. Just the level of poverty, and, you know, the houses there, the shanties. Yeah, I don't know what to call it. I don't want to sound, you know, rude or anything about it, but yeah, I mean, it's probably about the size of my room. You have a family of 6 living in there, you know, and just no windows, just kind of like the windows, the equivalent of window is just like a cutout part of the aluminum siding. And, you know, you're completely exposed to the elements, and it was very, very humbling, and it really made me appreciate how good we have it.
Yeah, of all the places, I've never traveled outside of the continental U.S., and I would love to go to Cuba just because they say Cuba, at least a few years ago, it trapped in time. Like,
Yeah.
old cars from the 50s lining their streets.
Yeah, definitely.
When the commies took over, everything just stopped. And I have a real problem because people talk about how great the healthcare is in Cuba.
What?
And oh yeah, Cuba is supposed to be the shining light of healthcare in the world. And this all comes from a UN report where Cuba told them what was going on. They didn't actually get to see any reports, but Cuba is a place that, last I knew, I think it was like only 60% of people had running water.
Yeah.
And I had a hard time believing that their medical care was so great with no running water.
And actually, the whole time I was there, I don't think I saw a hospital. And I mean, you know, I don't know if you guys watch Sargon's videos, but he did this one about Cuba. And, you know, they say like, oh, everyone goes to free university in Cuba. Everyone has a degree. Like, no, it's more like a 2-year work camp is actually what it is, right? I mean, like, free Cuban university is not like, you know, Cuban teenagers going to UCLA or whatever the equivalent be. Like, it's very different. It is essentially a gulag.
Yes. But they pimp it out. So question for you, since you brought up Sargon, did you see the Anita thing, and what do you think about it?
Oh yeah, I don't know if you guys all, I've been kind of like glued to Twitter for like seeing when, you know, people are at meetups or like these different seminars, and I thought it was pretty hilarious, actually. And I mean, I didn't know that Anita was aware of Sargon personally, but that's kind of like compliment to him, I guess. But I don't know, the lack of self-awareness that she must have in order to call someone, I think she called him a piece of shit and a human garbage during her spiel. Yeah, shithead, sorry. During her spiel against like anti-harassment and bullying. It's like, are you serious?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's also weird. Like, I know that we did a whole meetup thing, but it's weird to see other people do it, and you're kind of waiting for the gravity of all those personalities to just rip a hole in the space-time continuum.
Yeah.
Because it looks bizarre seeing everybody in the same place. But it was so weird. Like, you just see it in her face, how pissed she was. And she's been waiting to get this out.
Did you watch Dave Cullen's video yet?
No, I haven't.
We just got Jinx home from the vet, and
if you get a chance, watch Dave Cullen's video on this, because he talks about some of the behind the scenes where she actually says, and this is secondhand, somebody's telling what they had been told by the security staff, that Anita said she felt threatened because the front rows were all shitlords. And you're right. You're absolutely right that it's kind of a compliment for Sargon, but that's a compliment for all of those guys, because she seems to know a lot of them, but she took her rage out on him.
Yeah, and I think they said like, hey, this is secondhand, I think too, but they told them to not sit in the front rows.
Yeah, that was from our conversation last night. I think I was telling you guys about it. Also from Dave Cullen's video, the security staff suggested that from now on, when they go to any of the panels, they should all sit in the back to not threaten.
Go
so
sit in the back.
Literally asking. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's so interesting to me. Because as far as I know, they weren't doing anything.
No, they were sitting there quietly.
Listening.
Well, what I think is interesting is that I'm sure Anita Sarkeesian does get death threats. Like I am positive of it. I'm sure she does get some like pretty awful stuff. But it's weird to me that she attributes that specifically like to Sargon, because I'm sure those things are happening, but it's not Sargon that's doing it.
Right.
Yeah.
Real quick, thank you, Sweeper Steven. Says nice, 3 of my favorite garbage humans. Thank you.
Well, Roaming and Monkey, you guys have done vegans, and I've done MGTOWs. I just did teal deer, and from what I can see, nobody is worse than vegans.
Yes.
MGTOWs are close, but not quite. And
I read one of my vegan death threats online. That was funny.
And I was about to say, I'm sure you guys have gotten a number of "I hope you die" or like.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and then Francesca Ramsey tweeted something, and I thought this was a joke, but apparently she's serious. She was like, somebody just suggested that women should be strong enough to be called a bitch online.
Yes.
And I'm like, do you know, like, I have been called so many worse things than a bitch, and I'm okay.
I long for the days when that was all I was called, right? Because I mean, like, as far as internet harassment, like quote unquote harassment goes, that's really not bad.
Yeah, no, like that's an easy day. That's just a Monday. Like that's nothing.
I'm going through your videos here as well, because I like I said, I think I told you before this, I watch all of your videos and then I forget what I've seen. I wanted to talk about your latest video first. Your latest video was about your dual heritage, being mixed race. Can you tell us a little bit about what it was like growing up, how you moved from school to school and all that again?
Sure. Well, for the first 10 years, when I was little, we kind of pretty much just stayed in Hong Kong. My parents would go on business trips, but it was never for that long. And, you know, my brother and I stayed in the same school. But then after, when we got a little bit older, we started moving around pretty often, about every year to year and a half. So, you know, I've lived in Shanghai, Singapore, London, Canada. And, you know, because we moved so much, I actually eventually, when the later years of high school, started just doing independent study homeschooling, because like, that's not fun having to like come into different high schools like middle of semester, don't know what's going on. But yeah, a lot of people have asked me in the past to do a video talking about mixed race, and like, I mean, that's not really the kind of videos that I do. Like you guys know, like I think we kind of do similar things where we just sort of comment on issues, but we don't really talk about ourselves in our videos.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
So yeah, this was kind of the first really chatty, I guess, get to know me video that I've done, and it is different from things I've done in the past, but yeah, it was something that a lot of people I think were curious about. And I mean, like I mentioned in the video, Marina Shut Up. Actually, the first time I saw Marina Shut Up video is before I was really into, I don't know, this community, whatever you want to call it. It was actually one of her mixed race videos that I saw, because she's done a couple about being biracial. And, you know, I feel like anytime you see someone who's biracial talk about being mixed race, a lot of the times they come from this social justice mindset where they're being oppressed. And I don't know, that just hasn't been my experience at all. Or, you know, anything that has happened because I've been biracial has just kind of like been, I guess, minor inconveniences that could happen to anybody, regardless if they're mixed race or not. Things like, oh, I thought you were Spanish speaking, but you're not. Or like, oh, you look exotic. You know, things like that I don't really see as big deals.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not biracial, but I guess I look ambiguous enough that people
I
tend
could
to
see someone thinking you're Latina, maybe.
I've gotten that, and I've gotten Middle Eastern a couple of times. I've had people start speaking Spanish to me before, and I've also get asked a lot where I'm from. So, but that just doesn't seem like a big deal to me either. It just, people are trying to get to know you.
Yeah, I don't understand and now I am pasty white, so nobody has ever mistaken me for anything. But I don't understand why that would be such an insult for somebody to ask where you're from. And maybe it's because I am a Navy brat. I get asked that a lot anyway. Growing up, when you went to a new school, that's the first thing everybody asked you, where are you from? And it wasn't, you know, a color thing. It was, where was your dad stationed last?
Yeah, and that, I mean, that must be kind of a tricky question for someone like you to answer, because you have to go like, oh, well, like I grew up here, but then like for here a bit, then we moved over here, and like we just came from here, but I was born from here. And I feel like, you know, stuff like that, it's something like that's something I go through too, and it has nothing to do with like being biracial. And in my video, actually, I caught myself a couple times because I started talking about things that were more culture, and I was like, no, 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 like we're talking specifically about being biracial here, not being multicultural.
Um, were you born in Hong Kong?
I was actually born in Canada.
Oh, so you're a Canadian.
Yeah, and it's funny, like I was born in Canada, and so like that's kind of, I think, the strongest tie that I have to Canada. Actually, culturally, I feel very Western, but I don't necessarily feel Canadian, if that makes sense. Like I was going to American schools overseas, not Canadian ones.
Right.
So I mean, I've only lived in Canada for about, like, on and off, like all in with like trips and everything, probably about 5.5 years.
Well,
So yeah.
Canada's pretty American. They're just nicer than we are.
Well, actually, so my mom's side of the family is from French Canada.
Oh, do you
Yeah.
speak French?
Yeah, actually, my mom is a troll, and when we moved to Canada, she stuck me in French immersion school, even though I spoke no French. That was a fun few years. We want to talk about bullying or marginalization in like schools. That is a big one. Not speaking the language of your peers.
Thank you, Sweeper Steven. He said it's bad when Joey Salads makes you look stupid. If you guys haven't seen that, Joey Salads asked a question to Anita Sarkeesian, and they kicked him away from the microphone because it wasn't relevant.
What did he ask them?
He asked them about males getting harassed online and why they don't care about that.
Oh, actually, I think I want to do a video about that. Like how apparently the internet loves men but just hates women.
That
even
has
though-
not been my experience at all. Like,
Yeah.
I think if anything, it's a little bit easier if you're a woman. I mean, there's trade-offs because you get way more sexual comments than men
Yeah,
do.
yeah.
But I think people are a little harsher to men.
Well, I think this goes back to the culture thing where men are expected to be able to take it. And like you said, Francesca Ramsey whining about being called bitch. If a man whined about being called bitch, every man around him would tell him to stop being a bitch.
Exactly. Yeah.
God, I had so many things that I had planned, and you can, oh, you know what? I'll check my Twitter because I told SDA what I was going to ask about. I've asked about, oh, did I ask about your website online or here yet?
Oh, no, not yet.
Oh, how's your website going?
Oh, it's good. Yeah. So if anyone's watching this and didn't know, I have a website now, roamingmillennial.com, shameless plug, where it's kind of like a hybrid between Reddit and Tumblr, where I'm kind of like writing these little op-eds now, and where everyone can share videos and posts. And yeah, I mean, it's been a lot of fun. And I also have an ask page on there because I don't know what it. Have you guys done Q&As on your channel?
Yes, I did
haven't.
one just the other day.
I don't know what I seem to have this strange aversion to do it. I don't know if it's my like introvertedness that is scared of going on camera and asking. I have no idea what my holdup about it is, but I actually do have like a designated place on the site where people can ask me questions, and it's been really fun. And I've been kind of surprised about what people want to know.
I did one very early on, but I didn't do that one live. The other night, I just threw one together because people were asking me how you do YouTube stuff in one of our nightly ones, and there was just too much to answer there. So I just threw one together, and it is amazing how quickly people will just start bombarding you with great questions. By the end of it, we weren't even talking about computers anymore. I recommend it to both of you if you're women, so I do worry about the sexual questions you'll get asked. But yeah, they're a lot of fun for me.
Well, yeah, you've been telling me to do it because I'm kind of like you, roaming. I kind of don't wanna.
Yeah.
And because like we have a little turn it over to chat section at the end of our streams where people
Yeah.
can ask questions, and they ask questions, and I'm kind of like, I don't know if I want to answer that.
Well, see,
So
I'm also very open, probably to the point of being wrong sometimes, or I should keep shit to myself. But what brought about the website? Was this something you had thought up, or did somebody approach you?
Yeah, so actually it's kind of a partnership between me and this new startup called the Maven. They're a new digital media platform. So my website is kind of like this channel on this platform that has a bunch of other websites. And there are people there's this one channel called Being Liberal. There's also this one channel called the Black Wealth Channel. I mean, it's really all different kinds of content creators. And the Maven's goal, what I thought was cool, is that they kind of, they're inviting creators on there that they believe in and then giving them free reign over the platform.
Oh, okay.
So that's what I liked about it. And they do all the tech support and everything. And eventually the platform will be monetized, which will be cool. And they will have their own video player. So hopefully long term, if I ever do want to like make videos about things like Islam or shootings that happened,
Oh, yeah.
they won't be flagged on, or if they're flagged on YouTube, which they will be, I can just post them on there. I don't know about you guys, but in the past 3 or 4 months, I've had at least 1 or 2 videos demonetized every single month.
oh
I
yeah,
this
same.
this last week I've had 4 demonetized. They've all been overturned, but yeah, it looks like they're cracking down again.
Yeah, and I don't know how you guys feel about it, but I mean, on the one hand, I kind of feel like, okay, well, YouTube's a company, they want to protect their advertising, they don't want another boycott. But on the other hand, like, I do feel like this is being enforced kind of bias.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Um,
And
I understand they're a company, but YouTube made such a mistake there. What they should have said to advertisers is, look, we'll clean this up because yes, we have a little problem here, but you're not walking away from the biggest platform in the world. Come on.
Yeah.
Come on.
well, I think they should have. I don't think they should have caved so quickly. And this was something that we talked about a lot in El Paso because it had just happened, I think. And it's amazing how quickly they caved. And I kind of wish they hadn't because YouTube kind of sets the precedent. And I mean, we don't talk about anything that CNN isn't covering.
Yeah, very true.
I don't have a problem with them caving in a way because they do need the advertising dollars. I just don't like how far they caved. Because they basically, if you say one bad word, they can technically pull all your.
I mean, what I would
revenue.
say is,
I'm sorry about my voice there. Jesus.
it's okay. There's, if like, for example, I don't know, let's just go with Tide, the detergent or whatever. If Tide is okay advertising on CNN after a terrorist attack, There's no difference, in my opinion.
I
Yeah.
agree. And the thing is, I think Crowder has touched on this a couple of times, is that, you know, it's one thing for YouTube to say, oh no, you know, the advertisers are being very difficult, we have to change things. But it actually turns out that if you want to advertise with Google AdSense or on YouTube, they're actually very strict. So YouTube has actually turned away a lot of advertisers because they don't meet YouTube standards. Like you will not see an NRA ad on YouTube. And that's what's so frustrating about that, is that so many of the maybe companies who would be totally fine sponsoring our types of channels have actually been turned away from YouTube. So it's kind of like they're shooting their own business in the foot, but they're also kind of artificially creating this problem for themselves by being selective with what companies they work with.
Yeah, and I get being like selective. For example, I don't know that you would really want YouTube, that YouTube would really want to, like, you know, use Adam and Eve or something. But being so picky that you completely, you know, leave yourself with super persnickety people who will leave at the drop of the hat. I mean, that's not a good way to do it. And YouTube loses $2 billion a year anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah. I saw on my videos, I always watch them once after they're posted, and a video or an ad popped up on mine for some vegan stuff. Really made me laugh. That shouldn't be on my channel. I wanted to ask you about the Richard Spencer debate, if you don't mind.
Oh yeah, for sure.
What do you think of all of the backlash you got over that?
I was actually really surprised because I had let my patrons know pretty ahead of time that was happening, and then like eventually on Twitter, people knew about the interview before I posted it pretty much. And I had also, you know, reached out to people for questions. What would you guys want to know? And like, you know, among my subscriber base, people were really excited for it. They wanted to hear what he had to say. And, you know, they were the ones that were kind of guided the things that I asked. And, you know, after I posted the interview, reactions were really positive to the interview itself, not necessarily toward Richard Spencer's views, but a lot of people were saying like, oh, wow, I had no idea he believed this. Like some people were saying, oh, he's not as radical as I thought. Others were saying, oh, I thought people were just exaggerating when they called him a white nationalist, but he really is one. So, you know, there was a whole bunch of different comments that kind of were in that range, just appreciating the interview for what it was. Oh, I got to learn about this guy. But then, you know, one who really made a big deal out of it was ContraPoints, who I ended up having a stream with. And from that point on, I had all of these people who I think weren't really familiar with my channel, you know, they kind of just saw me as like, look at this person who's giving Richard Spencer a platform. Whereas, I mean, if you know anything about my videos, like I've debated white nationalists on my channel. I've denounced white nationalism in different videos. You know, it's something that I've actually talked about quite a bit. And then, you know, all of a sudden I have these people accusing me of being an alt-right sympathizer, or, you know, a neo-Nazi. And it's like, wait, what? Where's this coming from?
I think the biggest shock to me, I'm not surprised that people were stupid, but the biggest surprise to me was that people were mad that you didn't go after him really hard. And I think it's with Richard Spencer, especially because it's so hard to nail down what this man believes. I think just a sit down, hey, what do you believe kind of interview is the best thing. Mm-hmm. So I was really surprised by how many people were mad that you didn't like yell at him.
Yeah, and especially like, you know, I've had people on my channel before where I kind of do these interview things. And, you know, at first people were accusing me of being a Nazi or part of the alt-right. And then, you know, when I kind of pushed back on that, they're like, oh, well, you know, okay, I don't think you're a Nazi, but you were still giving you know, a platform to hate. But then, you know, push back about that a little bit more. They're like, okay, well, you know, you still, I'm just concerned about your interview skills for like journalistic integrity. It's like, well, this has never been an issue before for any other interview. And, you know, I think it really is that these people are scared of him. They're really scared of him.
And I thought it was also weird because I saw you get some criticism, especially from the left, like, oh, you don't give a platform to the left, though. And I was just like, you guys won't talk to us. There's no scenario. There is a scenario, but I mean, we would be more than happy to interview you and talk about your points and all that.
Yeah, I don't know about you guys.
To us.
But I feel like, Anita Sarkeesian pretty much has an open invitation to pretty much any channel in our genre, right? We would all
yeah.
love to talk to her.
Absolutely. And I mean, because Riley, in his like how to be a politically correct bigot,
Oh God.
was bitching about this, and I was just like, Riley, you want us to give a platform to you, okay? If I approached you and asked you to come onto my channel, which I can't because I'm blocked, would you do it? No, you wouldn't. You wouldn't do it, which is why we don't have you on the channel.
And with Riley, especially, I never said anything to him. I just started following him on Twitter and was instantly blocked. I was like, yeah, so you can't complain that we won't talk to you when you won't let us.
Yeah, and like, I mean, I'm no fan of the alt-right, but I'm trying to choose something. Why did I start talking just now? This is retarded. Okay, so I'm no fan of the alt-right, but I have to we credit where it's due. They're definitely not the type to shy away from controversy or at least communication, right? I mean, they're pretty down your throats with it, actually. And, with Richard Spencer, he actually knows one of the outright white nationalists that I had on a stream, and I was it wasn't really a debate. I mean, none of my debates before Vegan Gains were controversial at all or confrontational. We were just discussing our views, our differences, what we thought, stuff like that. And we ended on perfectly cordial terms. And I actually mentioned that I was interested in interviewing Richard Spencer. And Greg was like, yeah, no problem. I can set that up. And then like the next day, Richard Spencer messaged me and was like, hey, I heard you were interested in interviewing me. Let's set this up. That would never happen with someone like Francesca Ramsey, right?
Yeah.
But
sorry.
No, go ahead.
Is there anybody in this stream that wouldn't, if Francesca Ramsey was like, hey, sup, wanna? I don't think any of us would be like,
no,
absolutely not.
We'd all be like, yes, okay, when, where, what do you want me to do? Okay, done. Like, we would totally talk to you, Riley, but you won't talk to us.
And I would even be willing to have just an interview, not a debate, because I am very interested in how they think. Mm-hmm. And I would love to just sit down with them and ask them questions.
I actually just checked, and I'm not blocked by Riley anymore, but I don't know what would happen if I tried to talk to him. But I would like to just sit down, have an interview with him, and just, talk about what they think, kind of the way that you did with Richard Spencer. It would be the same thing. It's not that we're against giving a platform to any ideas. It's just that the alt-right does not give a shit that everybody thinks they're awful. They'll talk to you.
Yeah, exactly. And, that's what I find so funny about these, these social justice warriors going around and accusing people of being like closeted alt-right or secretly alt-right or a secret alt-right sympathizer. Like the alt-right people let you know they're alt-right, right? I mean, they're very vocal with what they believe.
Yeah. And let's be honest, when the alt-right first popped up, nobody knew what the alt-right believed.
Yeah.
It was just a term that was floating
around.
Well,
there was a time where I think I would have said that I was alt-right because it was so vague. I mean, now I wouldn't because it got more focused, but there was a time when I think most of the anti-SJW YouTubers would have been like, I guess I'm alt-right.
Yeah, like maybe a year ago.
Yeah, and then like the alt-right happened and we were like, never mind, I'm not alt-right.
Nope, not for me.
Yeah. Like, but we interview them because they'll talk to us. And look at how excited everyone was about Lacey Green.
I'm glad you brought that up because I wanted to ask Roaming. One of the biggest things that I've heard people whine about with Lacey Green is that she flagged your thumbnail. Mm-hmm. They thought that she owes them an apology. And I've said from the beginning, she doesn't owe them an apology. She owes you one. Has she reached out at all? Would you mind talking about that if she did?
No, I don't mind talking about it now, and I wouldn't mind talking about it with her. Like, I throughout the whole thing, I never spoke to Lacey personally. I've still never spoken to Lacey. Mm-hmm. And, it's funny, like, I get people tagging me when they're, like, tweeting to Lacey, like, what about the @Roaming Mill situation? And, like, they're mad at her on my behalf.
Yes, they are.
And that I find super strange because it's like, I'm not like this was like months ago and it's been settled, and it turns out that she actually just notified her like I guess it's her MCN,
Yeah.
which I still don't think, I still disagree with that, definitely, and I disagree with a lot of the tweets that she was posting at that time. But in terms of what Lacey is doing now, I see no reason like why to not support her. And yeah, I feel like on the internet, people, it's the sort of thing where like, oh, you're doing this great thing, but what about this thing that you did that I didn't like, and that kind of thing. And the people asking Lacey to apologize, like they're not asking her to apologize to me. They want apologies for themselves, I think, really. And I honestly don't think for some people that there's anything Lacey could do that would make them happy.
I would agree with that. And I actually have videos where I say she doesn't owe anybody but roaming an apology, and that's between them. I think what she did, one, people do need to realize she has still not said she's moved away from feminism.
Yeah,
She
very
says
true.
she wants to talk. And I would actually love to see you two sit down and talk, because I think it would be a great conversation. Throwing that out there.
Yeah, if anyone has an in with Lacey Green, I am also totally up for it. I mean, and now obviously it would be like, I'm a friendly person on stream. Like even with Contra or with the White Nationalists, I don't. The only combative stream I've ever had was with you. Like you were on it, Monkey, and I am sorry that that's been your your first time on my channel.
Oh no, that was fine. I get a lot of shit for that because I was polite. I'm like, that's what you're supposed to do.
Yeah, I feel like they were kind of under the impression that debate just meant like yelling match or argue.
Yeah,
Like
well,
I don't know.
to them it does. And if you, I've gotten involved with them a little bit again. To them, it's all about the wrecking. And so that's why I probably will never debate one again. I did want to ask you about your debate with Angry MGTOW, though.
Oh yeah, that was actually, we had two, I think.
I only saw that one of them, and it was one of the most awesome things because you didn't get really mad at all. You were assertive. By the end of that man sounded so beat down and so exhausted. I could not help but laugh. But
I'm glad you got farther than I did.
Yeah, he was he was horrible to you. If he had treated you the way he did with roaming, I don't think it would have been so bad. But
no, well, because I listened to the one he did with roaming, and that's what I was expecting.
Yeah, I couldn't finish the one that you did, SDA. I was just so like I couldn't hear it anymore. I was just like, okay, this is disgusting. Like,
yeah,
it was, because like I said, I watched the one he did with you. I had seen the ones that he had done with some other women, and
I think a bit of Brit.
Yeah, and he was a MGTOW, but he wasn't awful. And so that's what I was expecting. And, I went into it with that attitude, and then all of a sudden I had AIDS, and I was like, oh my God, what?
Yeah. What I wanted to ask about that, though, is you seem very nice on your streams and your videos. SDA tells me you're very nice. You kept your composure with Angry MGTOW. Do you ever get mad and Hulk out?
Not really. I mean, I'm a pretty low-key person, so I feel like I don't often get like vegan gains angry, like the vein coming out the side of the head. Something like, yeah, that's just like not very much my personality. Which I mean has kind of served me well for something like YouTube, where if you short-tempered, the internet is probably not your friend, right? I mean, I can just imagine being triggered all the time.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not short-tempered, but I'm short-tempered.
You are too.
I'm
But
pretty
you
short-tempered.
don't freak out.
No, I don't freak out. Because I know I'm short-tempered. So if there's a situation where I know I'm fucking pissed, I'm like, the other night I was so irritated, and you were like, you want to come on? And I was like, that's a terrible idea. I can't say things right now. So if you are short-tempered, it's really important to know how to manage it, because otherwise you'll end up fucking up.
What made you get into YouTube, roaming? I have to ask everybody this.
I mean, I've for a long time watched people like Sargon and Crowder, and so I ended up having this big gender debate with one of my friends, and I felt frustrated that I don't know, like I don't think was giving my side of the argument enough attention. So I ended up making her like a video presentation, which I guess is pretty nerdy. And then I figured, hey, why not just post it on YouTube? Because I follow all these other channels. And yeah, that was kind of it. And then it became a hobby, and I'm lucky enough now where I get to do it as a job.
Sweet.
Yeah.
The other thing I wanted to ask about, and after this we can talk about whatever, because that's the end of my actual questions I've thought of. You have a second channel.
Yes, I do.
I subscribe to it. I heard you talking about it, I think, on Worski.
Yeah. We started talking about, I forget what we started talking about. It ended up being just, this stream about movies and games and stuff, which was really fun.
I subscribed then, but I still haven't watched any of it. I don't know if you're like me. I have so many people I'm subscribed to. I can't keep up with everything. Is it just movie reviews over there?
So far, it's mainly movie reviews. We've also done, like I did a game review. We've also done some, like we did a food review where we're trying this like weird German chocolate. I actually have this like munch pack unboxing that has been sitting on my laptop for a few weeks that I haven't finished editing yet. Yeah, it's a for fun channel. And like, I don't know how like you guys manage dealing with all the negativity sometimes, but like for me, I like having a place that's not related to anything political or really controversial, where I can just talk about movies and still see like, oh yeah, actually YouTube is still really cool. Even if there's like vegans flooding my comments, like there's actually places on YouTube that are still friendly and chill, and we can just talk about stuff that interests us.
That's what the last hour of our stream is for me. When we talk about anything but news and YouTube, hey,
Yeah.
and turn it over to the audience. What kind of games do you play?
So
are you?
When I was younger, my brother's a huge gamer. So when I was younger, I think the first game I ever played was like Call of Duty 2, I think. So like when I was younger,
Nice.
I used to love the shooters. I've played all of the Call of Duties except for, I think, Infinite Warfare. And I don't really like them anymore. They've kind of, I don't know, gone down and became too much like Halo and Titanfall. But anyway, yeah, so I used to really like shooters, but since then, like I've been in this kind of like indie horror game kick lately, or horror game, because I love horror, but I'm at a place right now where no horror movie can scare me. I can say that with confidence.
Yeah.
But I find games still pretty terrifying. And actually, the game that I was playing just a couple days ago, Outlast 2,
I keep looking at that, and it's on the Steam sale. I didn't mean to interrupt. Yeah. Is it any?
Have you played the first one?
I have not.
Okay, so it's nothing like the first one. It's very different than the first one. Yeah, it's like I really like it. I find it very immersive, and I think the reason why horror games are scarier than horror movies is because, yeah, they're more immersive. Like
you're the person that's about to get jumped on. Like I watched when I was a teenager. Well, no, I'm not anymore. But when I was a teenager, I watched so many horror movies, and I think about the only one that got me was like, I don't even remember what it was called, but it was a Japanese one, so you can imagine. And that was the only one that freaked me out. But like video games, like you're the person that gets scared, and it's so much more immersive.
Yeah, and Outlast is one of those games, and I find it's pretty common in horror games where you don't actually have any weapons or anything like that. So like a kind of like an FPS, like let's say Left 4 Dead. The reason why it's like kind of action and not really horror is because, well, you can defend yourself, right? It's that kind of takes away any scary element. But in something like Outlast, you're literally unarmed, and the only defense you have is really just to hide or run away, or else you get killed, and that's pretty terrifying.
Okay, I'm gonna tell my wife I bought that because you recommended it.
It is good. I mean, it's a very different story than the first one. You're kind of like in this extremist radical. They're not really Christian group, and it's kind of messed up, but it's awesome.
Yeah, that is all the questions I have. SDA, was there anything you wanted to ask? Anything we haven't covered?
Not that I can think of.
You're a lot of help.
Well, nothing for you here asked if you've played FNAF roaming.
Is that if I've played what?
Five Nights at Freddy's?
No.
I haven't played them, but because of I don't know if you watch Game Theory.
No.
but because of their videos on them, I like them and I've watched playthroughs of them. Like, I'm totally fine with movies. When it comes to horror video games, I'm a fucking chicken. And I tried to play Five Nights at Freddy's and I couldn't because I'm naturally kind of a nervous person, and it wasn't working for me.
Have you
So
guys
I don't.
played
Sorry.
Layers of Fear?
I've never even
No.
heard of that.
What's that?
It's this horror game where it's really trippy, and my brother and I tried recording a let's play of us playing it, but like we're both kind of chicken when it comes to horror games, and we were just really confused the whole time. So like, I didn't end up posting it because like, well, this is not interesting to watch. Like we're just like, what do I do? Like I don't know. Can you see? I don't know. It's so dark. What's going on? Like that. It's pretty much like 40 minutes of that. So I just didn't post it. But yeah, I'm not very brave when it comes to horror games.
Oh, do you play Pokemon at all?
No.
Oh, she laughed when she said that.
No, it's not. Sorry, no. It's a perfectly respectable hobby. You know, if someone chooses to
that does
that
not sound
lifestyle,
sincere.
you know, nothing against it. Different strokes for different folks. I choose not to partake.
I love Pokemon, so does SDA there. So I
That
had
was
to
the
ask that one
most
too.
diplomatic answer.
It was.
I'm sorry.
She was like SJWs there.
No, because people don't give me shit about it because I'm female, so it's okay. But there are a couple of like Gutenberg and Scribe, like Rail Monkey because he plays Pokemon.
It's okay. I don't
But-
mind. I'm man enough to play Pokemon. I'll say that.
So
I think I used to watch Pokemon. You know, when it was the original series with Ash and Misty and Brock.
Yeah.
I used to watch that, and actually, I think my last year of college, I rewatched the entire first season, which was surprisingly big. It was like 50 episodes or something.
yeah, but it's not bad. The first couple of seasons of Pokemon are relatively entertaining as an adult. I mean, it's not like deep. It's not like a deep drama where you're gonna be getting all sorts of like interesting story plots or anything like that. Like that's not what I'm saying. But when you contrast that to like the newer anime of Pokemon, it's like the new anime is just like total kids show. But
I don't like anything past when Brock and Misty were there. Your boy Pat, thank you for the donation. He has a question for you. He says, here's a question for roaming. When are we going to have a chicken debate? Team Popeyes, LOL.
Oh, yeah. So on Twitter, I posted that I like KFC more than Popeyes. I don't know where you guys stand on the issue.
I don't like either. But roaming
SJ doesn't like
experienced
anything.
how
So.
picky I am IRL. And she also experienced my complete phobia of onions.
Yes.
Yeah, like that's a real thing. I'm not exaggerating.
I would
I
be
don't
so
like
tempted
onions.
just to mess with you with onions if you're that's who I am. So Popeyes is way better. You're wrong. KFC
No.
is where it's at, and they have the best coleslaw.
KFC is better. Okay, so I hadn't tried Popeyes until actually a couple months ago,
Mhm.
and I had heard so much about it. Popeyes, Popeyes, exactly. That's what you Popeyes fans sound like to me. Just so you know, So, but there's none near my house. There's one about 2 hours away, and I ended up getting it on like driving back, and I was just so disappointed. I don't know. I just felt like it wasn't as flavorful as KFC. It wasn't it wasn't as moist as KFC. Just it was just all in all a disappointing experience. And then I went to Seattle last month, and then in the airport there was a Popeyes there, and I was like, okay, well maybe I should give it another shot because I've been giving KFC a shot for like 23 years. Maybe I need to give KFC or Popeyes more than one shot. So I got the the Caesar salad with the fried chicken pieces in it. And again, more disappointment, more heartache. And this one was doubled because apparently Popeyes is one of the places that thinks Caesar salad dressing is just mayonnaise, which it's not.
Oh, somebody said Chick-fil-A. Yes, I love Chick-fil-A.
Oh, Roman, you probably don't have Chick-fil-A, do you?
I actually I've been to it because there was one at university BYU. There was one in the cafeteria. So no, sorry, not cafeteria, but there Actually, no. When I was leaving, there was one in the cafeteria. Anyway, yeah. Sorry, I have been to Chick-fil-A, but from what I remember, they don't do actual just fried chicken pieces, right? It's all like chicken sandwiches and
It's
nuggets.
it's
Yeah,
sandwiches.
yeah. I love Chick-fil-A.
Yeah.
Chick-fil-A is where it's at.
Well, you're a Southern girl. You have to. It's in your
You
genes.
well, yeah, it's something that like whenever I go somewhere that doesn't have a Chick-fil-A, like the first thing I do is when I come home is get Chick-fil-A, and then replenish the sweet tea that I've lost.
I don't think I've had sweet tea. Is that just
What?
is that just
Well,
like iced tea?
it's
It's iced tea with an ass ton of sugar in it.
so much sugar. Yeah, and it's cold and it's sweet tea.
What you do is you cook the tea, and then while it's still hot, you put
Cook the
in.
tea.
Say you're making a pitcher of tea, and while it's still hot, you put a cup of sugar in it, and then you dump that into your thing. You throw your ice in there and just let it all melt, and it's really, really fucking good. But most people who didn't grow up on it can't drink it.
See, I'm more of here. We have iced tea, like the brisk iced tea,
Oh yeah.
Lipton iced tea. Yeah, that's the only iced tea that I know of. But I am a fan of that. And for a while when I was like 15, I was getting that instead of soda because I was like, oh, it's tea. It must be healthier. But no, actually more sugar than soda somehow. So
If I don't know where you live, but if you ever get next time you guys go to your Bridge of the Divide, that was in Texas, right?
Yeah.
They should have sweet tea there. Go to a restaurant and order sweet tea. You're going to want to order a second drink because you're not going to be able to drink it. You're going to have to give it to SDA when you're done.
Well, there's actually sweet tea here. There's a place where we go where I have to get sweet tea with like extra lemon because what ends up happening is like sometimes there's so much stinking sugar in the tea that like it honestly tastes like the tea is bad and it's like 3 days old
Oh, yeah. No.
and it's gross. And so what I do is I'll either order like half sweet, half unsweet, or I'll just like dump a whole bunch of lemon in there to drown out the taste of my teeth rotting.
lovely. It sounds like a great experience.
Yes. You want to get a good sweet tea, so let her taste it first. Guys, I am going to wrap this up. I have things I have to do around the house before my wife gets home or she'll beat me. She's a mean woman. Roaming, thank you so much for joining us. We had such a good time when you came and joined us on the show that I've been wanting to talk to you again. And
yeah, for sure. Thanks for having me. And like I've kind of slowly started doing live streams again on my channel. So like I would love to have you guys on sometime in the next few weeks.
oh yeah, good.
Yeah, I'd
Let
be
me
down
know
for
when.
that.
Hit me up in DMs and we'll set that up.
Awesome.
Guys, thank you so much for watching. Appreciate you. Love you guys so much. SDA, a pleasure as always. And Roaming, I really do appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Yeah, for sure. Always fun talking to you guys.
Guys, your life makes me sad. See you next time.